Good afternoon, good evening. 大家好, I am a PhD student in École des Hautes Études in French, and I studied gender issues in Taoism and popular religion during Ming and Qing dynasty. Today, I would like to share some legendary issues in Taoism and I would like to share some legendary story about the city gods and the homosexual in Ming and Qing literature. Chen Huang, the city god, is the guardian god of city in the Chinese religion. Chen Huang is not one god, but a sacred title, a group of gods, and a different city usually worship different people as the Chen Huang. The city god is not only the manager of the city, but is also an officer of the legal system of the underworld. About the Chen Huang and the Chinese legal culture, many scholars has already studied, so I will not repeat them now. Chen Huang play a very important role in people's daily life and religion life. That's why they often appear in different literature. For example, 子不语、聊斋志异 and 阅微草堂笔记. Those famous novels all have stories about Chen Huang. They provide us a very rich source about city gods handle the local affairs. And I would like to show the relationship between the city god and the homosexuals through those texts in these three parts. The first story is about Chen Huang and Xia Xianggong, which is from 野手铺言. The writer Xia Jingqu constructs a highly idealized figure, a Confucian superhero, Wen Shuchen. As a Confucianist, the dream of Wen Shuchen is to eliminate Taoism and Buddhism, which is called 崇正辟邪, 推崇正义, 辟除邪恶. This is also the central theme of this book. In the chapter 66, a mirror officer in Fuzhou, Fei Xiong, introduced the local god Xia Xianggong, who is worshipped by the homosexual. As we can see, Xia Xianggong names Xia Dehai. All the people who want to have a homosexual partner go to the temple to make a wish. Then it will be successful soon. After the ritual, people have to put the meat on Xia Xianggong's mouth. This next part is about the Yingshen Saihui. About 30,000 people join it, which is a very large number. The prototype of Xia Xianggong was probably Hu Tianbao, a god in Fuzhou during the Qing dynasty. If a person likes a boy, he can pray to the idol and sprinkle the essence on the person he likes. After the wish is fulfilled, he needs to put pig oil and sugar on the mouth of the Hu Tianbao, which is similar to Xia Xianggong. Hu Tianbao is probably the most famous homosexual god we ever know. The Qing government twice ordered to forbid it. And Yuan Mei also read this story in 子不语, titled Rabbit God 兔儿神. In today's Taipei, there is a Taoist temple, Weiming Tang, has the god of the rabbit. After learning about the believer of Xia Xianggong, Wen Shuchen wanted to fix the local custom, so he went to Chen Huang Miao. As we can see, the 洛阳桥故事原属小说流传，其真有夏德海其人者。I'm not so sure what is 洛阳桥故事. It could be a legend about Asian homosexual, but I haven't found it. And he said, 民风淫荡，竟奉为龙阳主盟，公然抬相出会，肆行无忌。君神为一县之主，岂可坐视举国之若狂，不加查禁乎？今与尊神曰：如今日出会时，不明章报应，以垂警戒。将来文白堂有出身，必奏闻天旨，消除尊神位号，以敬诗书。When Wen Shuchen talked to Chen Huang, he is not humbly praying. He blamed Chen Huang for not doing his job well. He warned Chen Huang God that if he did not punish Xia Xianggong, he will lose his title. So the second day is the 迎神赛会. When the idol came to Wen Shuchen, it fell to the ground and broken. It is very interesting that Wen Shuchen resists both Taoism and Buddhism, but he treated Cheng Huang as an orthodox god. The 禁绝隐士 by local is the real world. In the real world is changed in the 野手不言 as the fighting against evil god by the orthodox god. And the second part is about Cheng Huang and Mi Zhao. As we know, Cheng Huang Temple is similar to government office. There are many secretary small office in the temple. They are generally called Mi Zhao. They are not God, but they also have supernatural ability. For example, they can move like ghosts and spirits, and they can leave the temple to interact with the real people. I would like to share a story about the houseman of the Cheng Huang Miao in the 阅微草堂笔记. There was a boy of 14 or 15 years old who makes weird sounds every night when he slept. At first, people guessed that he was sick, but later he found that he might be raped by the ghost when he was sleeping. Chen Taichang, Feng Ya, Taichang is an officer in charge of the ritual. He reported to the Segong, or we can call him Tu Di Shen, the land god. As we know, Tu Di Shen is in charge of the ritual society. He cannot manage the city, and his rank is generally lower than Cheng Huang. That's why he said, 昧诚有之，非无力所能治也. So Chen Taichang reported it to the Cheng Huang, and 月一宿，城隍寺中 拟树空马足，无故手之云. The head of the houseman who sodomized the young boy fell off. In the end of the story, the writer compliments the attitude of Cheng Huang. He believed the gods are not justice, and even if Cheng Huang favors his own fellow, he will also punish the justly. I also noticed that Mi Zhao would help the homosexual to get their partner. I read two very interesting stories in the 春明重说. Those small officers are called 龙吏, which means deaf officer. We don't have enough time to read these two stories carefully, so I would like to show this comparison. The first one is in Hebei, which is in the north near Beijing. The second one is in Guangdong, which is in the south. The two places are very far away, but have similar folklore. I'm not quite sure why they are called deaf officer, or why the deaf officer can help the homosexual. It could be because the word 龙 is very like the word 龙阳, which means homosexual in the Asian China. It could also be because the officer is deaf, so it's safe to tell him the secret. In the writer's opinion, the Longli are kind of 歪门邪道 and should not be present in the city god temple. He believes that the city god should supervise their subordinate and not allow them destroying the social morals. The 无聊斋杂记 story of Mi Cheng Huang. In this story, a Kelly officer was another man in a sleeping woman. And the writer said, Bob, the writer believes that being sodomized is a retribution. And to story. To story about the whole 永嘉恶少王玄同与杨义敖有龙阳之气. The qi is kind of like the homosexual custom in Fujian at that time, qi 兄弟. That is, two men promised to become a partner. Wang and Yang had this promise, but Yang left Wang was so angry and he went to Chenghuang Temple to curse Yang. So he got the third person as the witness. But instead of helping Wang, Chen Huang killed all three of them, as the writer said. 以此亵慢之事，混渎名神，俱遭诸恶，不亦异乎? Of course, the city god is not the only god who punished the homosexual. 地峡元君 and 地府名官 also have similar legendary story. For example, the 聊斋志异 and the 子不语. At the end, I will do a very quick conclusion. The stories about the city god reflect people's hope and the pursuit for justice, and they also show the attitude of society towards homosexuals at that time. Through the story of Chen Huang, the writers want the people to have moral sexual lives and not worship homosexual gods. This also shows the important function of the city god in the moral edification of the society. That's all. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. It was very illuminating, a little bit, let's say, interesting and amazing presentation concerning the gender studies that you specialize and this homosexual city god. Thank you so much once again. Our next presenter is Serban Tolder. The title of his presentation is A Short Tale of Lo Guan Tai. So, Serban, are you here?